I'm going.
The first 3 weeks of the eruption here in Hawaii, crazy things would happen in the middle of the night. A new fissure would open up and it would threaten a new neighborhood. Thousands of people were evacuated from their homes. I started the Hawaii Tracker Facebook group to help people understand what's going on and get their questions answered.
Hey, how's it going? We're live. This is Fissure 20.
We had hundreds of people all throughout the neighborhoods sending in videos, articles, and images. We spend a lot of time making sure the accurate information gets out.
This is live. There's still lava moving.
They weren't just sharing a story, they were helping their neighbor. If a family was being evacuated, my group would just jump in and help out. So it was huge. They were watching out for each other.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you for the support from everybody.
As we go through this, we're growing closer together as a community. When tragedies like this strike, you really realize how much you need each other.
We are the Hawaiian Volcano Education and Resilience Institute, HVERI for short. A lot of people know us from the 2018 eruption of Kīlauea in the Lower East Rift Zone. Working under Hawaii Tracker on the Facebook group. Since then, we've been trying to carry on and take the lessons, the hard lessons that were learned during that eruption and try and prepare for the next major disaster that comes to our island.
Yeah, so we do that through two different programs. One is volcano education, and the other part is digital resilience, which we address through online groups on social media. So the way the two programs work together is that the social media networks end up being a distribution pathway for all the information. And having that network in place means we can provide more than just volcano education, but any other preparedness information as well.
What we were working for really came about in the Maunaloa eruption in 2022. Within hours of that eruption starting, we had the mayor, Mitch Roth, we had USGS-HVO Ken Hahn on the stream trying to help flush out a little bit of the ongoing because it's so new. It's completely different from our previous major eruption, which was 2018.
One of the things that Talmadge and I were talking about was how do we deal with social media? It was something we needed to figure out and get right. Our job is to get information to the public and make sure that the public get it as well as possible and as correctly as possible. When Philip and Dane started coming to you and live streaming the meetings, it was great because we were reaching more people than we normally would. So when the eruption actually happened, we had this relationship. The interviews we did during the eruption, the most fun ones were the ones with Philip and Dave because they were more relaxed and we knew we were getting to the local community and people were asking questions. So those were the best, I think. I just want to really give a shout out to those guys and how we worked as a team on this eruption. It really worked out well and we got to a lot of people we wouldn't have normally gotten.
All right. Aloha, everyone. How are you doing this evening? My name is Dane DuPont. I'm joined by Mr. Luatori and Dano and Carrie, our American Sign Language interpreters in the corner. How are you doing today, Lou?
I'm good. You know, I was just thinking before we came on was, you know, every week we in between these episodes, we think we have some time to catch up, and we're just busy, and the VOG's been rolling in. So that's been a topic of conversation the last couple days. And we also have our fall fundraiser going on here at HVERI. So it's just another busy week for us in the neighborhood.
All right. And yeah, we're looking at a live or almost live view of the summit of Kīlauea right now. The boggy conditions, the unfavorable trade winds. Right after this, eventually, if you go look at the cams right now, there's nothing but fog conditions, nothing to see. So we rewound about an hour. But today we have our regular update, more or less. You can see that Philip is not here with us right now, but he is going to provide our update, and then we will come back and give you a little update on the progress with the Po'ohiki boat ramp dredge, and top it off with Lou's Community Corner. So tonight, we know we say it a lot, is actually going to be a shorter live stream.
He said it. Here we go.
It's going to happen tonight. All right. With that, I think we can go ahead and roll into Phil's update. What do you think?
Yeah, let's hit it.
All right.
Aloha, everyone. This is our Hawaii.
1 second. Let me get this set up.
Aloha, everyone. This is our Hawaiian volcano summary for October 9th, 2025. Over the past week, the hot remnants of episode 34 of Kilauea's summit eruption continued to settle and slump, mostly near the vent, but also draped against the southwest wall of the caldera. This is a thermal image of the past week on Kilauea summit, showing the only activity is near the vents. If we look at the V3 camera, we can see this slumping of the massive material draped against the southwest wall of the crater. And if we look at the nighttime views, it's more evident that there are glowing landslides occurring from this area as well, which expose a hot interior of the rock and cause that glow and appearance of a rock fall flow. Here's an example of this, caught on camera by visitors to Hawaiʻi Volcanoes National Park. And another one caught by the V3 camera. Let's see here on the left part of the screen. Looking at the V1 camera, you can see some of these rock falls as well, and continuing glow that is pulsing from both the north and south vents. These correspond to the rhythmic tremor pulses seen at the summit as well, such that according to the USGS, the variable nature of the glow correlates with rhythmic spikes in seismic tremor 10 to 15 minutes apart, which are indicative of gas piston activity within both vents. The tilt meter shows that tilt has resumed since the end of episode 34, and the next episode is expected to start between October 17th and 21st. Even between our episodes, we have gas emitted from the summit of the volcano in a range of 1,200 to 1,500 tons per day. And given variable winds in the past few days, as well as in the forecast, some of this VOG may be carried into our island neighborhoods, a wider range of which are used to getting it. Looking at the satellite imagery, we can see a similar distribution of sulfur gas higher across the island to the north. As we can see from our Purple Air citizen science monitoring network, that conditions on the ground are largely good around the island, except for in the volcano area where they are spiking into the orange and red currently. As we mentioned, the volcano is recovering building underground pressure, shown by this increasing ground tilt ever since the end of episode 34. This is shown here in this blue line from the summit station. You can see we're only partway up to the recovery near the threshold that we've triggered episodes 34 and 33. In green, we see the line at Pu'o'o on the Middle East Rift Zone, showing no correspondence or effect of this summit activity, only continuing deflation and contraction of that area, suggesting magma is not entering that area at present and is not increasing the threat to people further downrift. And just to remind ourselves, all the activities happening within Kīlauea, Kīlauea summit caldera, and within the Hawaiʻi Ma'uma'u, the summit crater of the volcano. So earthquakes have been quiet overall, reduced under the summit, and continuing at a lower rate with small magnitude events under the south flank, near the summit, but also extending a little bit further towards the eastern tip of the island with a number of events this past week. Overall, earthquake counts are still fairly low. Earthquakes per week are down around the background level ever since the onset of this eruption back in December 2024. And that's our Hawaiian Volcano summary for the week. So let me change some screen elements here. All right, thanks for bearing with me. All right, so let's get into our hazard summary. Our main hazard is still the gas. I thought I'd play this loop of the V3 camera, both nighttime and daytime, showing that movement, the slumping and the rock slides, but also the direction of the gas blowing. So most of the time at the start here, we're blowing right to left. That's the trade winds, but you can see here at the end, we are starting to flip around the wind direction, coming right at the camera and over to the right towards the viewing areas in the national park as well. So even during our inter-episode periods, we're putting out a good amount of gas. That can be a hazard to people living nearby, especially those with respiratory sensitivities. And this is the forecast from the VMAP, the Vlog Measurement Prediction Project from the University of Hawaii in Manoa. They are showing here the current emission source at Kīlauea Summit, as well as a forecast wind conditions. And you can see that they're putting this puff of gas to the north at first, but then drifting all the way around, wrapping all the way around the entire island within the next couple of days here. It's not clear just from this image, since we're looking straight down through the atmosphere, how much of this will be down close to the ground. Although we did talk to the creators of this site in the past, and they suggested that these values that they're forecasting are for on the ground here. So that is the potential impact, even if it doesn't manifest to that extent. And so some of that might be further up in the air is what I'm trying to say, if we're lucky, but some of it might end up hugging the ground. And then you can see from north of Hilo Hamakua, down to Kau, upland of Kailoa Kona, south Kona as well, all in the impact area. This being in the pure SO2 flavor component. And then after it travels and reacts with the atmosphere and moisture in the atmosphere, it can linger and these particulate aerosols of sulfates that you can see distributed here. And look, there's even some over here reaching Maui in a forecast for the next couple of days. Gathering over here, and Kai, Lanai, and even Oahu right there. Kona winds. All right, so presently we can look at our purple air network and the citizen scientists, and it's in the green all around. And just since I started recording here, we can see these numbers are spiking. Come here close to the volcano and look at the history. You can see this current spike that's happening right here, but you can see previously we've been coming into the yellows, even if not quite into the orange over the last couple of days here. So these are the areas most likely to get impacted, closest to the vent, especially with weak winds. So looking at our state air quality map, looking at all the different measures here. This one does not have a sensor here in the national park, and everything is in the green, apart from some elevated values here north of the national park. Not quite in the yellow, but climbing through the green is Mountain View and Kīlauea. And Hilo looks to be in the yellow, although when you are in a larger population of people, you can have other sources of particulate matter as well, whether that be dust or car pollution or factory pollution or those kind of things. But in any case, we don't often see these elevated values, so maybe there's a contribution of the VOG to that area as well. So that's the air quality further out. And if we come zooming into the national park, let me show you a map first. Here is the cloud projection of where that VOG impact is around the national park. You can see all the stations here are currently in the green according to this map, and further out as well. Winds very weak at only 2 miles an hour. So if you come back to the charts though, you can see that there, in more detail, there has been SO2 detected at Volcano Art Center in the village. That's the only one spiking right there. Kahuku, further to the southwest, also had a spike earlier yesterday. You can see the steam vents getting fogged out right now. And here you can see Kanakakoi as well. And so there's many of the viewing areas all around to the south, to the east, to the north, because of those weak winds are getting affected throughout the day today up in the national park. So that is currently our biggest hazard. You can zoom out to look at the satellite windy.com layer here. And here we sit in the midst of this larger cloud of SO2 that's in our atmosphere that has been gathering from our pulsing episodes over the previous month. So over here might be part of it too, having been split off. And of course, there's a lot of other sources globally, but you can see how we fit into it here in the middle of Pacific with our own little cloud. We also have these satellite passes, and these are collected and archived by the Mounts Project. So rewind a week to our last episode 34, and we had this big cloud of gas that even then was drifting to the north. Started off going apparently west and then north. So that's the second. And by the third, you can see it's drifted over across Maui and to Molokai Lanai. And by the fourth, you can see a few remnants over there by Lanai. By the fifth, it's more dispersed across the wider area here, and then it clears out by the seventh here. Looking at the eighth, now it's more typical of what we're experiencing right now, the image captured yesterday of this cloud drifting to the north here. So watch out, be careful out there, take precautions if you're sensitive especially, and yeah, be aware of our hazard. So from now we'll move on to our observations, and we'll start with the just nighttime views of the V3 camera once again. We have our landslides, we have our slumps here, but we also have glow coming more brightly from the south vent from this angle, a little bit from the north vent once in a while. But that's what's happening in Kīlauea, is the slumping and sliding more easily seen at night. But here's a V2 camera where it looks more like flashes, but these are also those landslide slumps. Maybe let me try something here. Let's pull this playback speed really slow and pull it back and try to catch one of these landslides. Like that one right there. It's a little tricky with this video player here, but we'll just try to play it one more time and maybe it'll be caught by our viewers here. So here it comes right there, that little flash. The vents are actually down over here. So I'll speed it back up now. And you can see the continuing mostly dark from this far away. This camera is on the edge of the volcano house looking all the way across, so it's got to see across all the fume or any weather it's in the way. But it did catch some of those rock falls and slumps as well. Here's a V1 camera. And there at the very start, we have a zoomed out view. There's the north vent and some of that slumping flow that's coming up the north vent. There's one off the south side as well. And over here is that side of the slope where we see some of these little landslide rock falls. And the tephra is laying down on top of all that lava that fell down just recently. It's been piling up something like 10 or 20 feet, depending on exactly where and in the bullseye you are of the landing zone that fallout. And so that outer part cools and becomes dark to sight, but the inside part is still hot and red hot, in fact. So that when some kind of landslide happens and that upper material falls off, the inside can be visible, and if it falls off, you can see those glowing rocks tumbling down as well. So pretty amazing to see that phenomenon here. And let's let this video play. It's going to zoom in, and so then you see more of the glow from the vents here, both the north and south vent, in that pulsing fashion that corresponds with a tremor that's rhythmic, indicating the gas pistoning within those vents. So once again, here is a video of rock fall from the V3 camera. This is a capture from the live view. So here up on the left, you see this glow coming up. Here's our vent glowing, but there comes the tumble of the hillside, exposing the hot rocks, which will also cool pretty quickly. They're not going to glow very long. But while they're falling, especially, you see that really bright streak there. Let's try to zoom this in a little more. Oops, there it is. Try it one more time. Zoom in more so you guys can see. Right on the edge of the camera, but you can get the idea there. Big boulders. It's hard to really judge scale on a lot of these views. That's a pretty big landslide. Not as big as the whole feature we have here, but it's a decent area here that's opened up and been glowing exposed. And just to be clear, there's not a crack or anything that's feeding lava up on a vent. This is just a remnant lava that landed from the spray being shot out, right? This is a one-time pulse. It ends after a few seconds. It cools the rest of the way down. We don't see the ground signals of inflation. We don't see the tremor of lava coming out of the ground. It's just a plain, boring old, not so boring rock fall because it's got glowing lava on the inside that's falling out and being exposed. So then we also had this post from our partner, Ryan Finney, said that this was a family member here, caught this a few days ago on Crater Rim, the landslide with the hot interior. That's what this video is here, zoomed in. So let's again look here on the left side of the screen. You can see that actually opening up there. In the daytime, you see that extra dark gray dust, all that rock dust, powdered rock that's rising. Pretty cool to see that. Do it one more time. Catch it opening up right there. See, it had just been a slab of lava. Yeah, it's just unstable. You can imagine the ground is shaking, it's cooling, it's contracting. All the material below it is still moving and slumping, and that's destabilizing the whole side of the slope. And that's what you can get. And just to pull it back, I want to remind you that this has been happening for a while. It's going to go back to June 16th. So this was episode, I want to say it was maybe 25 or 27, somewhere in there. And so let's play this for you guys. For the daytime view, see the different kind of configuration of the ground. But look, here's our rock slide coming off the top. If this had been at nighttime, maybe you would see it incandescent, glowing red. But here, mostly you're seeing the dust from this perspective. So let me speed it up here. can see a big dust cloud. Right? And then not only that, you see this area that's still hot and it seems to be venting some extra gas as well through that new opening. And so that's something that could well be glowing as well, or another process that could be happening with these landslides and slumps. Right, so I'm calling when the rocks are falling off the high slope here and sliding off, that's basically a landslide. And when the whole feature, like a hill, is moving all together, that's more what I would term a slump. And so if you look at that, here's a V1 camera. We're zoomed into this is a zoomed into north view, but north end view, but let's start it off panned out. And what I'm going to show you is this movement of material back through here and back through there. Right? That's still flowing rock. It's cool on top. It's got that putty-like interior that's still hot, glowing. It's enough under the weight of all that rock to keep sliding and move that material further down the slope. Do that one more time. You can see it from both sides of the cone. And that's how these cracks end up opening up on the cone, and eventually they widen and chunks fall off, and the whole landscape keeps changing before our very eyes. So the V2 camera, similar view, we're zoomed out, but look at that material coming down the hillside over there. I guess the easiest place to see it in this particular animation. So still a little bit going on here, and if you note, this is still yesterday that the image was caught. So this material is piling up so high on the walls that it's flowing for a full week after the event is over. After the lava stopped falling and piling up, it's still moving and flowing under its own weight. All right, so the V3 camera, you can see once again this movement material this way. There's stuff flowing that way also. You can see the whole thing is really moving. From this area, we're catching the rock fall somewhere up in here. So you can see even right here, that material is sliding off right there. And look, I saw a chunk just move there at the very end too. So that is the process that you see happening here. All right, one last camera time lapse. This is going to be the S2 camera. And I'm going to pull this one out because this one we actually had something flapping on it. So I just wanted to give a thanks to the USGS crew that came out here. You can see this anonymous maintenance geologist who fixed whatever was bothering the camera, and now we can actually see the view from that side as well. Nighttime and daytime, the slumping, slowing down over time, but still moving day after day after day. You can also see the glow and the wind direction changing from here. Not quite as sharp an image as the previous view from the V3, but our old school camera we've been looking at for a while, since before the V3 was there. So looking at the live view, here's a V3 live as I'm currently recording this earlier in the day here. And the V2 and the V1. You see the fog glowing right at the camera here in these last couple of shots. So those are our visual observations of Kīlauea today. And continue by looking at the monitoring. And we'll just look at the one update issued today to catch us up on what's happening here. And besides reviewing episode 34, they're noting variable weak to moderate incandescence was visible from both cones last night. And the rhythmic pattern of seismic tremor indicates gas piston events in both vents. And so they're seeing glow on the hillsides, on the cones. They're seeing tremor. And they're also seeing resumed inflation since episode 34. And based on that, their models indicate the next flattening episode likely to start between October 17th and 21st. And, there was an earlier, the first few updates were vague. They were just saying a week or a couple of weeks perhaps. And then early on, the very first window might have been a couple of days before this. And so there was a slight slowdown in the inflation rate in the last couple of days. And so now our window that is expected is this, October 17th and 21st. But of course, subject to change should the inflation rate change again. They note there's just been quiet passively outgassing plume rising from the vents. Glow, weak to moderate glow from both the north and south vents. With the variable nature of the glow correlates with rhythmic spikes in seismic tremor 10 to 15 minutes apart. So that's a gas pistoning evidence right there. And the rest of this is just a recap. And so you can see here, there's restating that all those signals altogether suggests another episode is likely, and during that one, it would releasing. Point that. So moving to their graphs and signals here, we'll start looking at the last month. So within the last week, we just had a little bit of the settling and maybe a little bit of slumping affecting the height of where this laser is pointing. It seemed like the last episode, we had a little bit more of the slumping wave or ridge slide past our measurement laser here. So we saw this little hump come across. But usually this elevation is measuring the thickness of lava accumulated in this spot with each pulse, this was 34, this was 33, and there's sometimes some messy, noisy data as the laser can be hitting the fragments of lava that are shooting in the air while the fountain is spraying in a certain direction. And so there's a little bit of noise there in the beginning, and it seems kind of subtle, and then you might see some of the shape of the land sliding by the laser here, and eventually settling to the stillness. Looking at the tilt, we pointed out already in our summary the summit tilt rising while the rift zone tilt is falling, and that we're coming up in a regular pattern. You can see here, this might be a little slowdown right here. That we've had those in the past, just delay, it still seems to be climbing fairly steadily here. So zooming out, Sand Hill Station to the southwest, similar pattern as the summit at Wikahuna. Our earthquakes haven't really been that variable, or within a fairly small range around our average, like our average here. And looking at the distribution over time, we can see that if anything, there's been a little bit more pulsing variation in the deep band, the Pahala earthquake zone, while it's a little steadier in the shallower areas underneath Kīlauea, shown in oranges and yellows here. So all normal, nothing that unusual to worry about there. And we can continue to see our pattern of inflation here within the last 3 months. Maybe here it's more obvious that we started off coming more steeply before more recently becoming more shallow here in our ascent. And so sometimes you come up steep and stay steep. Sometimes you end up coming up at a more intermediate rate. Sometimes you come up steep, you flatten, or you come up steep and you flatten. You might even have these little wiggles or these little delays until the actual trigger and onset of the episode. So we'll see what happens here next. But you can see that we are perhaps halfway-ish. Right? So another week, maybe a little more, depending on this rate of ascent here. And the grand pattern, I think, is here's a tilt for the last 9.5 months. And yeah, there we are, fitting all within the pattern, especially fitting in with the ones happening recently. So that seems to be we seem to be in a somewhat of an equilibrium here for now. There have been some little changes that we'll dig into in the future here, but nothing very major appears that would stop the next episode from happening, right? Or stop us from expecting the next episode from happening. So lava keeps accumulating, not so much for the last week, pretty steady, but here's a graph for the last year, and earthquakes for the last year showing our background rate here ever since the eruption began. GPS, the summit's still doing its accordion, stretching out between episodes as it's currently doing now. Maybe back halfway. And not any data coming in from the rift zone apart from a tilt meter, which is showing all normal there, so nothing to worry about there. So those are monitoring signals. Just wanted to also point out that we do have an array of seismographs. Here is 48-hour captures of some of those around the summit. They don't all come in clean or functional. But you can see the same pattern on several of these records, pointing out each of these little tremor band, that's one of these gas piston cycles, like gas releasing perhaps, bursting out, causing that vibration there. And so to do something a little fun, I thought I would just animate the last week here of these tremors, just so you can see that they have been happening the entire week, and perhaps increasing a little bit here in the last couple of days in frequency. There's more blue smudges flying across this page here. All right, so the last thing in our monitoring data, we have another satellite image of distance from Sentinel-1, an INSAR image from the Mounds project. And it looks like this. And so we can see that similar to our previous capture, which is this one. So our previous capture was on October 1st, spanning the previous 6 days back to September 25th. And we saw a deflation center right here, corresponding to the release of pressure during the episode. And that's centered right here. And you can see basically we're going from green to blue to red towards the center. And coming to the image we have for now, we have the reverse order. We're going from green to red to blue towards the center here. So this is captured on the 7th for the previous 5 days, starting October 1st. And so we're now catching the inflation, the reinflation of that summit reservoir building up to the next episode. And the location is still the same. It's centered right under this eastern part of the crater, the inner crater of Hawaiʻi, but really center of the caldera itself. And we still have some funny effects happening here. It seems like when this area inflates, we seem to have some very, very minor deflation maybe in this area northwest, and reverse as well. And then there's something happening over here with these bands. It's not quite clear to me if this is going, if that relates to that, or if there's something else happening over here, because we know that our vents are in this part of the crater and may have some interaction with this structure of the southwest rifted system over here. No evidence of that apart from this INSAR wiggles once in a while. We haven't seen anything on the surface, but it is an interesting thing to keep track of here. And so that's our last thing, is the INSAR. We'll move on to the earthquakes to wrap it up. Here they are for the last week, plotted by depth. We have a lot of these settling events across the island that can go from deep to shallow all the way across. A couple on the west flank of Maunaloa. Nothing unusual there. This is an area that does move. It's not moving very fast. It's not a big cluster of earthquakes, but we get these once in a while. No big deal there. The blue and green here are the deep Pahala zone that are still active, and in fact had a magnitude 3.9 that occurred on, was it Thursday or Friday? Friday morning, perhaps? No, it was Thursday night. And very deep. A couple of shallow ones here that you'd expect to have adjustments occurring as well. A few more on the side of Maunaloa next to Kīlauea. Not as many as we've seen recently, but still ongoing there. And otherwise, let's zoom into Kīlauea. We have a couple events here in the northeast part of the crater, a couple in the southwest. Fewer events overall around the summit caldera. Still have a few here in the middle, south flank, and a few here on this eastern part of the south flank. The magnitude 2, that's 4 kilometers down, but not that far deep under the coastline, just one off. These are not the rift zone itself. The rift zone sits further north right here. And so it's not a sign of magma or anything like that. This is just the area, this whole area is always moving. This part of the far tip moves not quite as fast as further in, which moves not quite as fast as further over, which moves not quite as fast as, right? I get the idea, but it all generally moves. And so it's not unusual to see earthquakes out here. When you start seeing lots of them, that means something different. So what we're seeing here is the expected pattern. And this map has a cutoff, so it's not showing as many of the small events as we saw in our earlier map, but the pattern here is the same, right? Our earlier map showed many more of these small events, especially in this central area right here, which would expect since pressure is building at the summit, and we imagine that would push southward, and so that's why this area feels the most pressure of the full south flank. So that's our earthquake map by depth. Here it is, wider, plotted by magnitude. There's a 3.9. We also have a 3.4. Over here is also pretty deep. Our most recent event coming in on the map here is a 1.9, 6 miles down. That is, there we go. Here on the south flank, a little bit more southwest, actually. So those are earthquakes. And that 3.9 did generate an information statement from USGS with no apparent impact on any volcano occurring on Thursday night. All right, so that is the update of the monitoring signals for this week. Hello, everyone.
Go ahead, Dan. I'll take it. Nope, here we go. Oh, we're got a little screen shuffling. There you go. Nice work.
We got to get all of our stuff fixed up. So, Poiki update. Let's talk about Poiki. Thank you, Phil, for that. And we will start off by just looking at this image, this post by Scott Wilson, pilot, who has been a long time contributor here on Hawaii Tracker, and who posted this photo earlier and overflight of Poiki. I'm going to blow that up for you here so we can take a look. We'll start at the bottom with the progress. This was a couple days ago, too. So a little more progress in this, but you can see interesting thing is the way in which most of the sand seems to be moving in this photo up towards the north. That might be the opposite direction many people might expect it to be pushed into, right? Dominant wave patterns come from the north towards the south. And anyways, so we see the progress there and that bay getting opened up. So talk about that a little bit more, but I also wanted to just highlight some of the other project happening down there right now is the reconstruction of the Red Road, Highway 137, which runs from Poiki over here all the way to Four Corners and Kapoho. And out there you see the Kapoho Lighthouse, or the Cape Kumakahi Lighthouse, out there at the very far side of that photo. So
we really haven't covered that much of it, have we?
Which of what?
The road construction.
Yeah,
here and
we
there.
did a whole lot on 132 when it was getting redone. We really haven't done that much with 137, but it was not as interesting as trying to do a road 1 year after the eruption. We're 7 years out at this point.
Do we have what was our estimate on completion of that road?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
But
they're moving pretty good on it.
Estimated completion for the initial part of this dredge for Poiki. Let me go ahead and this point. Oh, it didn't switch over, did it?
No.
Dang.
Oh, there you go. Well, that makes more sense
Didn't
now.
say anything to me.
Oh, I just thought you were going off of that image.
No.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. Now you can see all that entry and the wave action taking stuff up to the north more. The park at Poiki, the area in which they're storing all that material. And look how much material they look at. It looks like they have up there already. And then the road running all the way to Kapoho and the Cape Kumakahi Lighthouse out there. Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to see that otherwise without blowing it up. So sorry about that.
Our update's going to definitely expand a little bit once the road starts going a little more full throttle. The park starts getting built up. There's a lot more happening down there that we haven't been covering as much. So
the park is kind of delayed. It was supposed to be starting construction alongside the dredge. Obviously, you don't see any construction equipment up here in the park. Nope. Nobody's working up there. It's delayed. But road construction, there also is road construction off here to the left. This Poiki is being redone at the same time, including a new egress through the mango field, such that the boaters don't have to take that one really bad turn. And if you've taken the road, if you know Poiki Road, you know exactly the turn I'm talking about.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. But yeah, that's from the air. I appreciate pilot Scott Wilson for dropping that in for us.
It's a great shot.
let's take a look at the time lapse of work over the past week down there. So we're starting on the 6th and we're running up through the night. We're starting on the 4th, sorry.
Yep. And for the record, the park is still closed due to construction, despite the what you're seeing. Thought I would throw that out there.
But the one everybody likes to see, that's just the past week, and the one people really like is this full time lapse of the activities that have been going on, all the work that has happened down there at Poʻiki since the beginning, since June 9th. So that's what we have here. Oh, it looks like this is not the right labeling on this. Dang. Well,
you're still seeing all the work.
Yeah, I think this is the
complete
the entire one, right? Because we are going through every single day at this point, and you can see here that in July, not a lot has happened, right? July was kind of a waiting month, and a lot of August too, really.
We're waiting on the crane right there.
Waiting on the crane, right? And then it turns out that we don't really need the crane anyways. The crane don't work in this type of rocky environment. So not sure if it's even going to be used at this point, but we're just looking at you can see the tides rise and fall, and night fishermen going in there with their flashlights at night. It was like this for a while. And I'm going to skip forward a little bit because nothing happens in that beginning part. And then we start to see the construction on the far side, trying to alleviate some of the risk of flooding the house in which the camera is mounted on, which appreciate to the Ohana for helping us host that thing.
That's them getting the road ready for the crane to go over.
Right. And there was also the times they took LiDAR or the bottom of the thing, and they did a whole bunch of stuff. And really what I want to talk about here is where are we in this whole process? And right now we're looking like we're about a week out from the initial dredge being completed. But that does not mean the park will open. Then we go into testing, right? This type of project, this has never been done before as far as we know. We do not know how it's going to perform. And the boaters that have been the fishermen and women that have been going out of this area for generations, it's now a different game. Things that they used to be able to do to maybe avoid swimmers, and when they're coming in and out, you have less maneuverability now. It's a different dynamic. So it's going to be testing first and foremost. I don't know if you saw it in there, but there was a little boat that paid a visit. We'll talk about that.
It was little.
Bit. We're looking at mid-October, and then maybe a few weeks and roughly, we'll see of testing to see how the thing performs. Send divers down and check out the bottom. And it's really going to be an evaluation by the people that have been using it for generations. They are the most well suited to be able to make determinations about how safe the exit, the ramp is at this point. So that's what's going to happen next, is testing to see if all of this worked or not. It's going to be interesting times, right?
Yeah. For those that don't know, the channel is extremely narrow now compared to what it originally was. All the material that's on the far side was not there before. So the swimmers and the surfers had a lot more room to move. This area now, the swimmers are bottlenecked into that channel area.
Let me go ahead and add back to the stage.
Yeah.
That photo.
Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, I wish I had my drawing tool on, but the old way would be significantly wider, maybe twice as wide as what we're looking at there, until you got to that first bay reef, the natural reef that was on the left side of this photo. So yeah, a lot narrower. It's going to be an interesting time. And then once testing is completed, then the boat ramp will finally open. And there's a lot of questions about swimmers, but I do not think you're getting away from people getting in the water.
No,
The
no,
question,
you're not.
the only thing is, there's a lot of people that haven't maybe been down there before. Maybe they're new. Maybe it's been a while. But the protocol for boats, if the boat has right of way, you do not as a swimmer. So when you hear boat, you get out of the water or get to a safe spot at least, right? Because that boat, once it starts coming in or going out, it can't really change what it's doing, right? If you are in the way, you are in trouble. And, everybody that used to surf down there, maybe we had some close calls with the boats, right? But most times it was the relationship that worked.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Definitely.
the only thing we can hope for going forward is, when it does reopen eventually, boaters are going in and out. Hopefully the thing stays open, and just going to have to work on that. How do swimmers and boaters coexist in the one area that everybody wants to be at?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Technically the boaters, swimming is not allowed there, right? It's a boat ramp, but we just know how that goes. If you knew, you know.
If you know, no. Mm-hmm. Norm from Hawaii brings up about the lava boats that used to go out of there. Remember the big pontoons? Imagine pushing one of those big pontoons through that little channel.
No way.
Not
it was already sketch enough with those pontoons.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's get into community corner, huh?
All right. Where's my screen?
Let's see. There you go.
All right. So we got here. No, Dano's getting a drink. He's getting ready. That's right. Fuel up, Dano. Here we go. We got some events on the board. We got some notices happening. All right. So lots of things and not lots of things happening in the park. Obviously, we know that there's a shutdown with the government going on. So limited access, limited resources, I guess, at the park. The big one is that the Kahuku unit is closed. Now, if they open it, it might be random. If its gate is open, I don't know. This is just what's on their site as of October 3rd. They really can't put any new information until the shutdown is over. So take it for what it's worth right there. Watch out for the wasps. They're definitely not on a shutdown. They're still out there. Stay away from them. Don't disturb them. You can't really report them to anybody. So just stay away from them. Don't get stung. There's a shot from earlier you saw that Phil had put up on there. Lots of lava viewing available around the park. We're in the middle. We're 8 days into this in between right now. So still have a little bit of time, but you can still wander around the park up there. It is still open. There's another shot from somebody over on our Discord, Trend Mock. Thank you for the image there. There's a shot from a viewing area. That's over by Kiana Kikoi. There is the closed welcome center right now, but KMC is open, and I think the fuel pumps are still open up there. There's a shot of the HVO building. Yvonne Barr hooked us up with some images. I showed you that one last week. Here's another shot here, a couple more of what's going on. It's a beautiful building. It really surprised me. It wasn't what I expected on typical buildings that are built on the islands here. This one is nice. This will be a great area for them. There is the KMC. Look for the flagpole, hook a right, and that'll take you into the parking area there. There are restrooms there that are available. They are not the flushable. Good luck with that one. But you can park there, and you can walk straight across out to the rim for viewing areas or hike around the park. Yvonne hooked us up with another shot. This is down at the Kīlauea Visitor Center, the construction that's happening. That's going to be the new pavilion outdoor open air area that they're building. There's another shot right there. A lot of construction. Project is ongoing with a little pause right now. There are all your viewing areas. Like I always say, there are dozens of emails or messages that come in every week where to view the lava. Just get there, find the first place you can find a park that you like, and start walking because they're everywhere. Even from your car, right there. Yeah, I know you'd like that. And bring your own water. I don't even know if the water spigots are working. So don't try to grab a hose. Bring your own water. How we doing on the I don't have my disclaimer picture up there. That is an AI created image, by the way. Got the beagles out. Oh, there goes Dano. I wore Dano out. He couldn't even get through the whole thing. Thanks, Carrie, for chipping in here. Bring your own water. Bring your hat. Bring some sunscreen. Exposure is a real thing here. That's an image from one of our viewers that was up there for a day for the last episode. Just shows what can happen in just one day of hanging out in the park. So bring some sunscreen. Reef. What do you call it, Dane?
Reapply.
What is it?
Reapply.
No. It's the Reef Safe sunscreen.
Reef Safe.
So you don't have to, worry about it when you go in the ocean here. That's really important for us. A hat and plenty of water. Dehydration, windburn, and sunburn is a real thing. It is cool up there. It's 4,000 feet, so you'll get caught before it's too late. Closures everywhere. Nobody telling you can't go anywhere. Just be aware of closed area signs. Park is not having a lot of security, so definitely more time better to be aware of putting stuff in your vehicles and pack it with you if you can. Events going on. The Big Island Press Club has a luncheon happening. You can check them out. The Torch of Light Scholarship Luncheon. That's happening Saturday, December 13th. I threw that up here early because you got to get a ticket to attend that. Or if you have to book a room, scan that QR code. Dane loves it when I throw a QR code on the screen. Don't shake I see you shaking your head. Big Island Taiko Festival is going on this weekend. Check that out if you're into the drumming. Saturday and Sunday, October 11th and 12th at the University of Hawaii Hilo Performing Arts Center. And Holo Halloween is happening. Dane, I've got a couple events here that I got on our board. You just let me know which one we're attending, all right?
Oh, they got horseback rides. All right, we're going.
We're in. Sweet. This is going on Thursday, October 16th and Friday, October 17th, 12 to 5. And then again, October 18th and 19th, 10 to 6. Got a pumpkin patch. Got Dane's pony rides out there. Got all kinds of stuff happening. Tickets are available and free parking. Keiki under 4 are free. Also, Halloween Hustle is happening if you're up around the park area at the Volcano Golf Course. That's Sunday, October 12th from 12 to 3. That's presented by Action for Animals Hawaii. Check that out. Dane just gave us an update on the Poiki boat ramp dredging and activities that are going on there. You can view that over on our website, hveri.org/Poiki. And if you'd like to use it, just remember it's free to use. Just throw in some credit for us. You can also help support that camera by donating. We are in our fall fundraising drive at hveri.org/donate if you'd like to help keep the cameras and our programs running. And there it is. Support our fundraiser. We're building resilience, strengthening communities. We're shooting for $5,000. If you are interested in helping us, we'd appreciate it. hveri.org/donate. There's our QR code down on the bottom again. Don't smirk over there, Dane.
Hey, that's a custom one. That's better.
That is custom. That's right. That is. I made that. Mahalo for your support, everybody. And if you would like to be notified when there is an episode, we're coming up in probably another week for episode 35 of this ongoing eruption that started on December 23rd, 2024. Sign up at hveri.org/subscribe, and we'll get you a notification when the episode is going off. There we go, Dane.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank everybody that tuned in today, but also like to thank first the Buyback Grant Program to the County of Hawaii for helping fund this program, as well as their support for our digital resilience and youth development programs. We appreciate that ongoing. But yeah, I'd like to thank everybody that tuned in today. The likes, subscriptions, the subscribes, all that stuff really does help. But yeah, we did have a bunch of donations come through if you are so inclined.
You gonna hit them?
Yeah, not. I'm not reading all the names on.
Come on,
I appreciate everybody on there, but most recent donations: came through was Alan R. with a $200 donation. We take donations through our website over on HVERI.org/donate, as well as donations through YouTube, which are now through their fundraising programs. We get 100% of your donation through that. But yeah, thank you, Alan R. Also, Steve H. with a $25 donation coming through. Appreciate the support. Longtime viewer, Raven, coming through with a $10 donation. Another longtime viewer, Gary, with a $156 donation. Mark here, appreciate that support there, Mark, with a $50 donation. And then, is that a second Alan R for 200, or is that a repeat?
Might have been a repeat in there.
Okay, that might have been a repeat.
But it was worth mentioning twice.
Yeah. And then Robin with a $20 donation as well. So appreciate all the support there. And if you do want to make a donation, you are so inclined, check it out over on the website on your screen there, hveri.org/donate. All right. I think that gets us through the majority, and we don't have anything on the back end today.
Nope.
With a lot going on, and next week we have a lot going on as well. We will still plan to do an update, but it's probably going to be more similar to today's update than our normal style. Hopefully then dust settles and we can get back to normal a little bit more. But appreciate everybody that tuned in today. I know we're just over an hour, but I said it was going to be a quick update, and it was, Lou.
1 hour. You got it right. Bingo.
All right. So yeah, unless there's anything else, if there's anything outside of the ordinary at this point, a new episode or episode 35 wouldn't cut it. But if we do get episode 35, check out our mailing list, but also the Hawaii Tracker Facebook group. That's where contributors post images, share information, things along those lines. It's up to almost 175,000 people over there. So huge chunk of the population here on Hawaii Island over there on that group, and appreciate all the contributors and everything over there. Also, thank you, Carrie and Dano, for all of you showing up today and all that. But I think that's it, and we will go ahead and call it there. What do you think, Lou?
Sounds good to me. We got through it.
All right. Well, for Lou Atori, I am Dane DuPont, joined by Carrie and Dano Kaufman. Appreciate it, and aloha, everyone.